The Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 14. This is the basis of the message today. When Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place to be alone. When the crowds heard this, they followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd. He had compassion on them and healed their sick. When evening came, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the crowds away so that they can go into the villages and buy food for themselves." But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." They told him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish." "Bring them here to me," he replied. Then he instructed the people to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. After looking up to heaven, he blessed them. He broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples. The disciples gave the food to the people. They all ate and were filled. They picked up 12 basketfuls of what was left over from the broken pieces. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not even counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord. The Word of God for our meditation is the Gospel for today from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 14. My dear friends, you probably noticed over the summer that there was quite an event that we hosted here in the United States, the World Cup tournament. And if you watched any of the coverage of it, you probably saw some of the people that visited us to attend the World Cup and got a sense of their impression of the United States through their eyes. You get a sense that most of them, when they lived in their home countries, had maybe a distorted view of our country. And so when they came here, their eyes were opened. They were amazed at some of the things that they witnessed. One of the things that really made them most amazed, that shocked a lot of these people, was going into our grocery stores. They were amazed to go into a grocery store and see all the things that you can possibly eat, all in stock on the shelves. Not just one, but several options for each of the items. When's the last time that you were amazed when you walk into a grocery store? I don't ever remember that sensation, but the fact that others are kind of speaks of the blessings that we have in this land. To take for granted that there will always be food on the shelves when you go into the store. To take for granted that there's going to be so many choices that you have a difficult time actually choosing which option that you're going to purchase is something many in our world do not have and have not had in the past. We are so richly blessed by our God. And yet, those blessings we come to expect, take for granted, and it makes us a little bit spoiled. People going into grocery stores today are doing a lot of complaining. They're complaining that it's too expensive. When there's a lot of people who have to pay a whole lot more of their income just for the basic necessities for their life. I don't think we as Americans can truly understand what it's like to be in real need, desperate need. We get a picture of that in the words before us today, and we are given a reminder that whatever our need is, our God will supply, as He has and as He will. In this account, we see how Jesus satisfies our every need, caring for us physically and spiritually. There was need this day as Jesus deals with this crowd. And the first need that we see is that of Jesus. When Jesus heard this, He withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place to be alone. What had Jesus heard? He heard the report that John the Baptist had been put to death. That was awful news. Herod, that wicked man, had unjustly put to death a great prophet, the forerunner of the Christ. It isn't just that shocking, terrible news that Jesus had to deal with. Mark's gospel tells us at this time in his ministry, Jesus is so busy healing people, teaching people, interacting with people. He's so busy that he doesn't even have enough time to eat, much less sleep. He's tired. As the one who took on human flesh and in a state of humiliation relates to us in every way, sympathizes with our weakness, he was tired. He was worn out. And he needed some time alone. Not only that, he also needed some time with his disciples. He had just sent them on a missionary trip. And they had come back. They had a lot of questions. They had a lot of news to report. He had to take some of this precious time of his to teach them, to prepare them for their ministries. This was valuable time and important need. But as Jesus gets on that boat and sails across the Sea of Galilee, the crowds saw him. And so they go on foot around the north end of the Sea of Galilee. And they come to this deserted place where Jesus had landed. Before he gets there, they're there. And what does Jesus do? When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd. He had compassion on them. Can you imagine that? Is that the reaction that we would have? I kind of doubt it. Maybe think of a day where you're worn out. Demands have been placed on you from every direction. You're at your wit's end. You have no energy. You just want to be alone for a little while at least. Just want a time to get away from it and clear your mind. So you get home. You open the door. And your child says, "Mom, Dad, I need you." Compassion, yeah. But maybe a little bit of frustration, even anger. Can't get 1 minute without someone asking for something. Jesus shows compassion because there are greater needs than his. And isn't that always how Jesus acts. Isn't that what his humility is all about? Our needs always trump his own. So he comes, he sees these crowds, he has compassion on them. And then we hear something amazing. And healed their sick. You want to understand need? Consider that little detail. He healed their sick. These sick people just made a rather arduous journey around the Sea of Galilee to get to Jesus. If you don't feel good, that's not something you would do unless you're really desperate. What would get a sick person out of their sick bed to go on this great journey across the Sea of Galilee? It was a problem. They're sick, and there's no one else who can help. No physician, no family member, no medication was getting them well. But they had heard of this man, this Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee. And when people brought sick people to him, he touched them or spoke to them. He had the compassion to help them and the ability to help them. He provided for their physical needs, bringing health to those who were under distress and illness. He gave sight to the blind, caused those who could not walk to stand up and jump around, healed every kind of disease and sickness. So that's how he spent his day. Not in rest, not in prayer, not with his disciples, supplying the need of these desperate people. We get sick. We're mortal human beings. And sometimes that sickness is difficult to deal with. You go from doctor to doctor to doctor, looking for a solution, for the right medicine, for the right procedure. And no one seems to have the answer. You go to one specialist and they say, well, I can't really help you. Why don't you go over here? And then they send you somewhere else and you're going in this circle and you're just not feeling better. You're feeling worse. You may understand the desperation that would lead someone out of their sick bed to walk this journey around the Sea of Galilee. And why you go to Jesus. Because the great physician, the one who created us, is the one who can help. We come to him in prayer, seeking his help, asking for that help, but also entrusting ourselves to what he will provide for that need. His answer may be the miracle cure, but it may also be the strength of faith to endure the trial. The strength that he provides to get through the pain. Or maybe this is the way he'll bring us on our journey home. But he has the power to carry out that good and gracious will. So he says, bring it to me. After a day of healing their sickness, it's growing late. This is a deserted place, an isolated place. There's no big Costco around the corner to buy some food. The disciples look at the situation and they're growing concerned. You've got a big crowd. There's 5,000 men plus women and children, maybe 20,000 people. And they're hungry. A hungry crowd is not a good thing. They turn against you, they can get really, really bad. So the disciples come to Jesus and said, well, it's getting a little late. We're kind of far away from home. How about you send the crowd away so they can buy some food for themselves? Sensible, right? Jesus' response maybe doesn't seem quite so sensible. They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. We're going to produce food for such a massive crowd of people? Well, Jesus, we've already asked around. We've gone through the crowd. All we could come up with is this little boy who brought his lunch, 5 loaves, 2 fish. All these people, they're not going to get much. You give them something to eat. Look at their answer to the need. The need is these people are hungry. They need some food. And their solution was send them away. They can buy their own. Let them fend for themselves. Send them away from you, Jesus. Think about that. These are people that are desperate. They're desperate not just for physical help. They're desperate spiritually. The time spent in the presence of Jesus, witnessing his miracles, but listening to his message was so valuable. Send them away. Let them fend for themselves. You give them something to eat. Jesus is saying, that's not the answer. What possibly could it be? Well, we have only 5 loaves and 2 fish. Bring them here to me, he replied. His disciples have spent the day watching what? Watching the Son of God heal every disease and illness brought to him. They were watching miracles all day long. And when the problem came up where we don't have enough food, they said, there's no solution, send them away. Jesus said, I'm right here. Bring them to me. I'll provide. And so he hands out the food. And he keeps handing out the food all day long. Think of the logistics of this. Feeding 20,000 people in one sitting. It all worked. 12 baskets of leftovers at the end that they saved and used. I'll take care of it, Jesus says. I don't think any of us are in that desperate a situation for food, for other needs of our life, but we get that test every so often, right? Where we got all these bills and we only got this much money. How is it going to meet? We look for the answers, the solutions and can't really find them. And our God says, I will provide. But it may mean that we can't have all the things that we want to have. It may mean that some of those bills, we're going to have to sell some of that stuff or downsize some things to fit what we're able to do. It's a hard lesson of contentment that Christ gives us, but we eat, we live in shelter. And if it weren't for the hand of God supplying us with the food, giving us sun and rain, and allowing the crops to grow, the farmers who make those crops happen, the store owners who provide the place to buy it, our bosses who give us a job so that we can take that money and buy the food, all of that comes from a gracious God, a powerful God who provides what we need to sustain our life. To have such provision is a blessing that only God can give, for which we are to be thankful. Jesus satisfies our every need, but not just physical, also spiritual. Jesus did not come to feed crowds for a meal or two. He did not perform these miracles to impress the people with his power. He came to save souls. He came because he has compassion on the crowds, on us, for our greatest need. Peace of conscience, the forgiveness of sins, eternal blessings. None of that could we accomplish. Our works are not going to do it. Only one substitute, the very Son of God who came in flesh and would lay down his life on the cross. Only he could satisfy that spiritual need, and that's what he's displaying by these miracles. Look at who I am and what I came to do. That's a message that this crowd needed to hear. It's a message we also need to hear. Sadly, as you look at this account and then you proceed to the next day, look in John's Gospel, and you see it's a message that they missed. He fed them this day, and the next day they said, "How about you be our king, Jesus?" They kind of liked the free food. They said, well, Moses did that, didn't he? There was manna in the wilderness every day. They walked out, there was their free food. Yeah, Jesus, you can keep doing this. This is great. Be our king, our bread king. And Jesus proceeded to tell them, that's not why I came. That's not what I'm going to do. I am the bread of life. You must feed on me spiritually. And after that message was proclaimed to them, they walked away. No, we're fine spiritually, they said. We've got our works. We've done our thing. We still want the bread king. And that's not what they needed, because they were not fine spiritually. Nor are we. Jesus does not have to prove that he cares. He does not have to show us His compassion by healing our illnesses or granting us our needs. He's displayed His compassion for us by going to a cross and dying for you, and rising in triumph to show you His victory, and sending you the Spirit through the means of grace so that you can receive those blessings. He satisfied your eternal need. And that's the evidence of His care. And that's why we can trust that He'll provide for our physical needs as well. There's a lot we can learn from this day of compassion, of providence, as Jesus satisfies the needs of these people. Trust Him to satisfy your every need, the one and only one who can do so. Amen.